Hi everyone. Let's talk about speech audiometry today. Okay. So speech audiometry. Speech audiometry is the patient's ability to hear and understand speech. So whether it is pure tone audiometry, we are trying to know how much is the hearing loss of the patient. Speech audiometry is the only place where we are having a much more like a practical aspect of it. Okay, pure tone audiometry, impedance audiometry, these are all more in the purview of the ENT surgeon, and speech audiometry will go more in the purview of an audiologist. And the primary purpose of speech audiometry is for a fitting of a hearing aid. That's what I understand from this. There may be other uses, but this is not mostly that we as an ENT surgeon use it in our day-to-day basis. But it is important. It's an important topic from the NEET PG point of view. There are some topics which this is a bit of a complicated topic. So before I really enter into this speech audiometry, I would like to introduce three concepts to you, three tests you can say. One is speech reception threshold, other is the speech discrimination score, other is the PB max. The thing to understand is these three are not separate. Okay, one leads into the other leads into the other. So speech reception threshold will form the basis for speech discrimination score. Speech discrimination score will form the basis for the PB max or phonetically balanced max. So before I go into the topic proper, we will just have a brief overview. What is speech reception threshold? It is the threshold. Threshold means what? It is an intensity. It is the intensity of sound at which the patient can hear and repeat back 50% of the words that are given to him. Okay, so speech reception threshold is an intensity at which 50% of the words are correctly heard and repeated by the patient. With that speech reception threshold, you go into speech discrimination score. Speech discrimination score, what do? You take the speech reception threshold and you add 30 decibels to it. It is a supra threshold level. So you are giving 30 decibels on top of the speech reception threshold, and you ask the patient, you give number of words to the patient and you calculate a percentage. So speech description score is a percentage. Is a percentage of the sounds or the words, which are repeated correctly by the patient. So you give a number, say 10 words to the patient, and out of them patient can repeat 80%, 90%, 100%, 70%, depending on the patient's pathology. Okay, that becomes the speech discrimination score. And then speech discrimination score, what did we do? We took a single intensity. What is that intensity? 30 decibels above speech reception threshold. Okay, what is speech reception threshold? As we already said, 50% of the words at the intensity at which the patient can repeat 50% of the words given to him. Okay, now you go one step further. Instead of taking one intensity, that is the speed at the 30 plus speech reception threshold, you chart it on as this at various intensities from 0 decibels to 100 decibels. So 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So you are increasing the decibels of the sound, and you are calculating at what intensity is the patient can repeat maximum number of words correctly. So at what intensity you are getting the maximum SDS score or the speech discrimination score, which score at what intensity you are getting maximum speech discrimination score, that becomes a PV max. Okay, this will form a basis for differentiating cochlear from retrocochlear kind of hearing loss. So let us now enter into the topic. So what is speech reception threshold? What is the definition? It is the threshold. Threshold means, as I said, it is the intensity in which the patient is able to identify 50% of the spoken words correctly. So the entire speech audiometry, as I said, it is the patient's ability to hear and understand speech. Common problem that we keep seeing in our clinic is patient can hear and I can't understand. Characteristic of presbycusis, which is a cochlear, sometimes retrocochlear kind of hearing loss. Okay, so what is the procedure here? We do a set of spondy words. What is a spondy word? A spondy word is a word in which equal stress is placed on both the syllables. That is like baseball, daydream. They are delivered to each ear. So speech reception threshold, or every speech audiometry, each ear is tested separately. It is delivered to each ear through the headphones of an audiometer. You keep on increasing the intensity by 5 decibel steps until the patient can repeat 50% of the words given to him correctly. that becomes the speech reception threshold. The intensity at which the patient can repeat 50% of the words given to him becomes the speech reception threshold. Okay, so what are the uses of speech reception thresholds? Uses is, if what is normal speech reception threshold should always be within 10 decibel range of the pure tone audiometry average. Okay, so here is an example. So here this is a patient with conductive hearing loss. So the patient is having you always take 500,000 and 2,000. These are called the speech frequencies, right? So 500,000 and 2,000, you, what is it, 50, 50 and 40. So it becomes 140 divided by 3. Approximately 45 decibels of hearing loss this patient is having, conductive hearing loss, because there is an airborne gap. Okay, so what is SRT? SRT should always be either 35 to 55. It should be within this range. 45 is the pure tone audiometry average. SRT should be within 10 decibels range of pure tone audiometry average. If it is beyond that, the patient is malingering, patient is feigning, or patient is lying that I am having deafness. So this is a way in which you can confirm, or you can have a suspicion that the patient is not answering correctly. Okay, speech reception threshold is important because it should be within 10 decibels range of PTA. If it is crossing that, you suspect that the patient is having malingering, or it suggests malingering. Basically, it is not suspicion, like you are like confirming, almost confirming that this patient is malingering. Okay, what is speech discrimination score? What is the definition? It is the patient's ability to understand speech, that is speech audiometry. Okay, it's the patient's ability to identify and repeat single syllable words given at supra threshold level. Patient's ability to identify and repeat single syllable words given at supra threshold level. So what did we do? Okay, let us go through this also. What is the procedure? A list of phonetically balanced words. For example, phonetically balanced means PB. So phonetically balanced words, like example, pin, sin, they are delivered at 30 decibels above SRT. That is the suprathreshold level in each ear of the patient, and the percentage of words heard correctly by the patient is recorded. So speech discrimination score, you are taking 30 decibels plus SRT at the 30 decibels more than the speech reception threshold, and you are giving to each ear a number of words are given, say 10 words are given to each ear separately, and you calculate whether the patient can repeat 8 words correctly, 9 words correctly, 6 words correctly, or it can be more also. It is like 50% or 100% of words given repeated correctly by the patient, you record it. And not only do you record this, okay, so that comes to PP max. So you are going to just record the percentage of the words repeated correctly by the patient. This becomes the speech discrimination score. What is the basic understanding of speech discrimination score? In patients with normal and conductive hearing loss, then the high score of 90 to 100% will be obtained. That means if you take 30 decibels plus SRT, almost every word that you give to this normal patient's here and a patient with conductive hearing loss, patient is going to repeat back to you 100%, almost 100%, 90 to 100% is almost 100%. So that is the basic understanding with which we go. Now it is falling down, say 70%, 60%, 50% or 40%. So speech discrimination score. So you are giving 100 words, only patient can repeat 70, only patient can repeat 60, only patient can repeat 50, only patient can repeat 40. You are giving it at a supra-threshold level. The problem is not the intensity. Here, the problem is not the intensity. The problem is not the amplitude. Problem is not the decibel range. Problem is the patient's ability to process the information, and that is what we see in presbycusis. Okay, how do we use this practically? So if the patient is having a say 70% speech discrimination score, you can tell the patient that if there is a low voice like a whisper, okay, you can understand a whisper. Okay, when you are here wearing a hearing aid, basically I took this from one of the hearing aid sites, one of the centers who gives hearing aids. So they are telling that, so if the patient's speech discrimination score is 70%, then he can hear a whisper while he is using a hearing aid, even when there is a moderate level of background noise, without looking at the patient's face, without needing to see the patient's face. Patient's face means what? You need to do lip reading. Okay, so at 70% speech discrimination score, till 70% speech discrimination score, patient's disability is very less. Okay, when it becomes 60 to 70%, patient will have to look at the speaker's face, and below 50%, he will have great difficulty understanding the whisper. So as the speech discrimination scores fall down, your ability to hear well even with a hearing aid comes down. That is the basic use of a speech discrimination score. Now coming to PB max. So what is PB max? Let me just go through with this. In speech discrimination score, what did we do? We are giving a single supra threshold level of 30 decibels above SRT. So we are giving we are testing it at only one single decibel range, or one single intensity, which is 30 decibels above SRT. Instead of that, it is better to chart PB scores against several levels of speech intensity. So here is the score percentage. You are trying to assess or chart the PB scores, or the phonetically balanced scores, or the scores. Score means the number of words repeated correctly the patient. Instead of a single intensity, you are going to test him across various intensities, and in process you are trying to find out at which intensity will the patient reach his maximum score, or the PB max. That becomes a maximum score of the PB max. The SDS score is maximum at which intensity. We are trying to find out by charting this chart against a number of intensities. Okay, so at one point you will reach at one intensity range you will reach the maximum, that is the 100, that is 100% you are able to reach. Here also you are able to reach at 100%. What level you are able to reach it, that is what we are trying to do with PB max. Okay. Okay, not only, as I said, not only do we note at what intensity he is getting the maximum number of words correctly, also at maximum number of words correctly, at the same time at what decibel range, the intensity of the sound at which he is able to reach that maximum decibel range also is noted. So that becomes characteristic of certain diseases. And also suppose this patient is having, say, conductive hearing loss, and it cannot be rectified by surgery, or the patient is not asking for surgery, patient says I don't want surgery, then at 70 decibels this patient is going to set his volume of the hearing aid at 70 decibels, because at 70 decibels he is getting PB max at 100. Okay, so this is the use of PB max. Okay, so what do we do in PB max? In SDS, we took a single supra-threshold level. In PB max, we tested against a range of amplitudes of range of decibels, and we test where he is getting the maximum score and what is the maximum he can reach also. Okay. So what are the results? How do we assess the results? PB score of a normal person is 100 decibels at 15 decibels, 100% at 15 decibels. So this is the an S-shaped curve. That is what you will get in normal people, and in conductive hearing loss you will get a S-shaped kind of a curve. S-shaped kind of a curve, where in normal people you will be getting a PB max of 100. A PB max of 100 at 15 decibels only. At 15 decibels only you will get 100 score. That is, he is going to repeat every word correctly back to you at 15 decibels itself. So that becomes normal. And conductive hearing loss, in this particular case, he is repeating 100% of the words correctly at 70 decibels amplitude. At 70 decibels of intensity, he is able to get the PB max, or he is going to get 100% at 70 decibels. So here also the curve is S-shaped, but we do not get it. It is parallel. It is parallel to a normal person. It is parallel to a normal person, but you get it at a later intensity. Instead of getting it at 15, you may get it at 30, you may get it at 70, but in this particular case, we are getting it at 70 decibels. Okay, so PB score in conductive hearing loss is also 100% at 70 decibels, and it runs parallel to a normal person. Now coming to cochlear and retrocochlear hearing loss. What happens in cochlear sensorineural hearing loss? You get a PB max at 70 decibels and then attains a plateau. So here let us see. So PB max, you are getting PB max at 70 decibels. That is, he is getting the maximum number of words that he can repeat correctly. He is at 70 decibels. And even if you observe, he is not able to reach 100% also. He is able to reach approximately like 75, 80 decibels. He is able to reach 70, 80% of words only he can repeat correctly. Only 80% of words can be repeated correctly by this cochlear hearing loss patient, and also you are going to get it at 70 decibels. So you have to raise the intensity to a great volume. Also you are not getting maximum PB max. Okay, so in cochlear hearing loss you will get a plateau, but as you keep increasing the intensity, the PB max will not increase and will not form an S-shaped kind of a curve. It will be like a plateau. So this plateauing, that is after this PB max, as you keep on increasing the intensity, the PB max will remain the same. The PB max score, that is a 80% score, is not going to have increasing in score or decreasing the score. It forms a plateau. The plateau is characteristic of cochlear hearing loss, cochlear sensorineural hearing loss. Okay, what happens in retrocochlear hearing loss? What happens in retrocochlear hearing loss? In retrocochlear hearing loss, he's attaining PB max at a much later amplitude. That is, you have to increase the sound even further. You have to increase the sound to 80 decibels. You have to increase the 80 decibels, and also you're not able to reach it till 40 also. 40, 45, approximately 45% is the, suppose you're giving 100 words to the patient, patient is only able to repeat 45 words back to you. So that is a really great fall in the, in speech discrimination score is falling down rapidly, and has fallen down to a great level, fallen down to a severe level. And also you have to raise the intensity to at 80 decibels. But the interesting feature of this is, as you keep increasing to 90 and 100, instead of maintaining a plateau, it is falling down. So at higher intensities of sounds, the thing is falling down, the curve is falling down. He is able to hear less number of sounds. He is able to repeat less number of sounds correctly. So at 80 decibels, at 90 decibels, he is able to hear like 38. At 100 decibels, he is going to hear much lesser. So there is a fall in the PB max as the intensity is increasing. In cochlear, what happened? As the intensity is increasing, there is a plateau. The PB max is remaining constant. But in retrocochlear hearing loss, as the intensity is increasing, the PB max is actually falling down. The number of words repeated correctly is falling down. So that becomes what is called a rollover curve. That is what is called a rollover phenomenon. So with increase in speech intensity, above a particular level, 80 decibels in this case, PV score falls rather than maintaining a plateau. PV score will fall. PV score is falling down, right? Rather than maintaining a plateau. That is characteristic of, sorry, this is retrocochlear hearing loss. This is retrocochlear sensorineural hearing loss. Okay, so what are the uses of speech audiometry? We have already discussed all of them. So if you find the speech reception threshold, it correlates with the average of PTA. So you can find out how much is the PTA average or how much is the hearing loss of this patient. Suppose it is not correlating, then you can say that the patient is having malingering, or the patient is fiending, or patient is a malingerer, patient is having non-organic hearing loss. For the sake of pension or for the sake of money, he is lying. For the sake of some benefit, he is lying. Okay. To find the intensity at which the SDS is best, this helps in fitting a hearing aid, we already said. So at which intensity patient is able to repeat the maximum number of words correctly, that becomes the PB max. Okay, that is the volume at which you are going to fit the hearing aid, and that is the volume in which the patient can get good hearing. Okay, how do you differentiate cochlear from retrocochlear hearing loss? If you chart the scores, that is the percentage, SDS scores on one side and the decibels on one side, as you keep on increasing the decibels, if you are going to reach a plateau, once you reach the highest, say 80%, and after that it is not increasing and it's maintaining a plateau, that becomes cochlear hearing loss. And then as you are increasing the intensity, if it is falling down, the PB score is falling down as the intensity increases, it is characteristic of retrocochlear hearing loss. So these are the uses of speech audiometry. So speech audiometry means basically ability to hear and understand speech. Okay. So thank you for the patient listening.